we've seen a lot less of in comparison to stage 2. First pick is actually Vex, knocked off of the map from the Emma Frost, just kicking him down into the dirt, and there's way too much environmental problems to worry about as both Angelas are cleaving into each other. Unfortunately, there's a few more numbers of Crazy Raccoon all stacking up together and fighting.
That Namor and Hela, exactly what we were afraid of from them. Great Soul Trader to try and lock down J-Man for the Silent Seduction in the choke point to try and chase them down. Regeneration Domain is going to buy a little bit of time, but it's taken out because that Silent Seduction does do damage and deletes through those. So many pickups as Lastro goes for the SGF, grabs Magneto and is melted.
Yeah, taken out in the end. Galactic Legend is going to be used for Crazy Raccoon, who still have control of the objective. They don't really need to worry too much about FlyQuest now as they are forced back. Elimination's not quite connecting into FlyQuest being stalled out. They're still trying to take this fight, and they're diving in off of the Angela ultimate to tag people down, and then the Horn of Proteus trying to connect onto Crazy Raccoon's backline, but just narrowly missing.
Vital Enviro. That is going to be one useless monstro as this dropped into the lava. Will not find any value here. Energy takes to the sky as they've got a beautiful angle. And just going to try and set them down. Energy drops to the floor due to the targeting, but they still found the first pickup here. And they still haven't flipped this. FlyQuest getting the pickups will finally stop this at 77%.
And actually, Energy gets picked off just as Crazy Raccoon were grouping up.
Here comes the Heaven's Descent down with the Icarus Axes and the follow-up to try and focus them down with that Tidal Dirge as the mirror sending off the side. Comes out Meteor to save themselves. Going to be sent down line. Won't find anyone because the Loki...
The shield required to put him onto the ground, and there's a second attempt at least from J-Mac to knock him off the map, and he's successful at least here. It's almost in the hands of Crazy Raccoon again, and now FlyQuest are losing too many numbers. Vision switched over towards the Strange to try and go for a stall. Crazy Raccoon, they were very close to taking a round off of Citadel earlier. They're in the lead here.
They're holding this. They're trying to force them all the way back to spawn, prevent a re-engage. And if they can do that, they might be able to hold it. They've got the setup here. NX, in this entire tournament, who is leading the charge for the setup on the overcharge and the blow-up. JT3 is deleted.
And the invisible boundary, there's not really too much from Crazy Raccoon to actually go stall this and fight this. You've got to admit that J-Mac is not afraid in the slightest, but he has been isolated now. Vision just getting in behind him, separating him a bit more.
Some patch on keyboard and mouse, allowing him to take the duel. Going on to the Loki, but it is avoided. Heading to the Goddess of Death with the Silent Seduction to try and trap them in one angle. They get one blow up. Vision now from behind with the Goddess's Descent, getting the right angle and the Thorns to try and get some quick blow ups and burst as Hela comes down from the side. So does Angela. The Asgardians teaming up together. Energy is going up into the sky themselves, but they are fully going to be targeted here. Vital's going to portal them back in. It's the last chance. The substitute coming a main player to try and give them a hold as FlyQuest have brought it back from a huge deficit. Coming on in, Angela going to try and knock them back through the portal to take them off the point, remove that overtime. We're on the last sliver. Star-Lord with the dual Energy in this sliver of overtime remaining. And oh my god, Crazy Raccoon are being taken out behind the bins.
Taken out in style for FlyQuest, managing to show up a little bit slow to warm up, but that's sort of expected at this rate.
From above, going to try and just take the dual hypermobility, invulnerability frames, and bonus health are the power of Star-Lord, Blaster Barrage. Regeneration Domain will buy some time, but now that's been utilized, they know that they have the opportunity to go on through here. Meteor M will buy at least a little few of those shots, and as such, NX will not find any targets.
There's been nothing other than that pick just before the ultimates were used. The invisible boundary was good to break some of the sightlines for FlyQuest, but outside of that, the ultimate's now in favor of FlyQuest as we see the Hela and the Angela combining to keep people stacked up into a position as Crazy Raccoon struggle to get some progression onto the point. Two are taken down in quick succession from Energy, just raining in hell from above.
FlyQuest take control. Since they've adapted to this Hela and the Namora, they
able to do some damage for the Emma Frost, managing to connect the crystal. You got Namor that's getting very stuck in because the Horn of Proteus is available. The CC able to make sure that NX can't do too much in this fight, and Crazy Raccoon are actually forced to use that invisible boundary, not even on the objective itself, just to keep themselves going, despite losing a player early on in that fight. NX has to run back as the Star-Lord.
Going to be backing away, and Vital sending in the shots. Vision forced to back away as Vital tries to take the duel. Using that Hela, we saw this throughout Seasons 1 and 0. Hela was such a dominant force because you kind of forced a reaction from another hit scan to try and duel them, or you forced a Psylocke to try and flank it, which is why Vital is bringing it out this time to just try and match Energy, but they do not have the Namor to try and take it. They use that Star-Lord to try and find anything on the other side. Vest doesn't land. The Meteor M portal comes out from J-Mac to try and contest. I have Agamotto onto the backline!
but there's not enough damage to actually scare them. I think Cooper might have been able to get the regeneration domain, but he has used God of Mischief as well. Just off the back, keeping everybody going, and now Crazy Raccoon, now that we're getting to 85% progression for FlyQuest, using whatever they have available to them. But there's not enough elimination shown up in the feed. At least JMac was able to get one, but the blue of FlyQuest able to combine to get 2 more. There's not enough plays for Crazy Raccoon to keep this fighting, and you've already used a Strange Ball.
They're trying to contest it, regeneration domain for the choke point to zone them off, and while they will get the touch, there's no portal, so all you've really done is delay the inevitable. Lastro's gonna touch by a couple extra seconds, but this is literally just going to be a funnel of 1, 2, and done. FlyQuest showing up after a slightly rocky start. They take a dominant second round.
Yeah, similar to what we saw from Na'Vi a bit earlier and Citadel Gaming when they played up against Crazy Raccoon just before that. Looking at the series as a whole though, Crazy Raccoon were very well read to know that Halls of Jelly wasn't a great map for Citadel, was decent for them but not really anything super standout. Maybe there's a map in particular.
Jump scare Angela coming through the doorway, forcing Vital to reposition. Not going to be enough as they are going to get taken down. Sparkchief now looking to continue to harass, to just create any kind of problem. The chase is good, coming down with the Icarus axes to try and duel out that cap, but they're taking a little bit too much damage from behind, forced to back up to the rest of their team. Lucky firing squad on the high ground is creating a little bit of opening. Horn of Proteus, Vital gets a double, JMac makes it a triple, and they will repel FlyQuest and allow Crazy Raccoon to start to build up that percentage. Vision does have the portal, but they need to be quick with it. Catching 2, trying to get onto those strategists, but the Guardian Barrier is a little bit too much to deal with. Fate of both worlds forcing JT3 to use the mobility from the Carbon Crusher, rotate out and escape.
Into the face, similar to what we saw from Strangers back in the early days. Means that Vital can't get too much with it, and Crazy Raccoon not fighting in sync from each other. Seems like one at a time they're being taken out, and
they've now gone for the Hela Namor themselves for the first time here. They were bringing out the Hela earlier, but with a Bandit's giving them a little bit of a setup, and the second that Fate of Both Worlds ends, there's the opportunity for a Horde of Proteus to try and capitalize with the tether from the Heavens Descent, and immediately FlyQuest, they only get 2, but it's more than enough, and an isolation onto Xionghoon as well means that this Psionic Seduction chasing them down, but they use terrain to back away. Magnetic Curtain not at the ready, meaning Magneto just get pulled in, but there's a Tidal Dirge. No healing for JT3 as the healing reduction comes on in, and energy is just pinging away from a distance and melting everyone who steps out of spawn.
So as well for Crazy Raccoon, they've got the one-sided Groot and Emma, but you can't play them in this kind of setup. It feels that you don't really have much advantage to work with them, so you're trying to match what FlyQuest are putting down. Meteor M just pretty much sent straight into the Goddess of Death to reset it, stop that damage from coming through. Forcing Fate of Both Worlds, a Horn of Proteus, just as 1 minute is reached on the clock. Crazy Raccoon now starting to string some eliminations together. FlyQuest, do they have enough time to actually go for a reset and make sure that they stall for the second checkpoint?
There's not a lot of time or space left. Vets is onto the Doctor Strange, so they can try and portal in here, but they've got to be careful because JMac is 3 meters, 2 meters, 1 meter portal. Too late! Crazy Raccoon with the juggling. They burn basically every ultimate for it except for Invisible Boundary. But it's Vital. Once again, energy is just maximizing the use of that range in the air right now, sieging down from above. Another Heaven's Descent to tether everyone together, catching them more as they try to escape, and all of this is just creating more Monstros, more damage, more resets, and that is FlyQuest with another hold with 1 minute 14 to go.
Making also sure that now that that Fate of Both Worlds was used from Cooper, that you've got a chance to farm these up quite quickly again. Zelos does have an invisible boundary on the horizon, and in fact he's getting a lot of quick ult charge, and NX goes down just at the moment where you feel like Crazy Raccoon are trying to set up. They keep losing players and keep losing out on time.
Soul Drainer comes on in, looking for an opportunity to do the same, but they're getting harassed, pressured by Sparky. Invisible Boundary comes out from Zealous, Silent Seduction. JT3 trying to pull them in, trying to create an opening. Horde of Proteus into the backline, trying to create an opening as Vital ascends to the sky. Meteor M to absorb it and potentially to pop that Goddess, but no center pick off NX.
Pretty much right into the alcove. It didn't see him at all. Now Portal Play is going to allow FlyQuest to clean up the houses of Crazy Raccoon. There's 5 seconds left on the clock, and there's no players even really alive outside of NX that goes for the Strange right at the end. Not really able to push it all the way to the end of Halls of Jajalia. A decent sort of push in the end, but it did look outside of some blip moments.
Show the adaptations they've had since this finals have started with the Angela Assassin's Charge, isolating the Invisible Woman, forced to try and jump away. Hela comes in to just try and take the dual Vital. giving their best, but another assassin's charge, forcing them down to the low ground, then just not letting them take position. And wow, that's just so fast. FlyQuest already have first point. 5 minutes and 30 to go.
Oh, the Goddess of Death was available for Vital, but he goes down from Energy. The counterpart on the other side, Invisible Boundary, was also used. Silent Seduction from Crazy Raccoon to try and turn the tide in this fight. 4 ultimates for FlyQuest. They're not afraid to get stuck in. They've got this payload progressing relatively well, and there's not much that Crazy Raccoon could throw in. They have ultimates built, but there's a lot of players that have been staggered and continuing to be staggered. They might just need to give up second at a pretty quick time here.
They used every ultimate and got one person, and FlyQuest are still taking the momentum because they were able to force a positioning, once again, a positioning move out of Crazy Raccoon. But Crazy Raccoon realizing that they have the ultimate advantage right now, are trying to commit. Tidal Blessings could be coming in for a little bit of extra sustain for that invulnerability on the Namor. Vital is trying to find a flank, but there's a lot of pressure. Vision is just trying to evade, but they cannot evade Vital, who's chasing them all the way back to spawn here. Gonna try and trap them out, try and just capitalize, try and keep this going. Once again, only one person gonna get picked off, but it's enough to force everyone to back up on the side of FlyQuest. Already pushed all the way into the doorway, forces out the fate of both worlds. That's a big ability to burn so early. Vital trying to flank from behind, comes a Monstro. That's all they were able to deliver into that fight. The ultimate was picked off so quickly. Jung-hoon is down, J-Mac is down, the sustain is gone. Invisible Woman is trying to give everything they can for it in the last couple seconds, but with NX gone, there is nothing bursting through that bonus health, forced with the free fly to get away. Meteor to chase down Vital, and they get it. Vet is just so good at that combo. Besieging from above, Energy creating opening, removing the defenders to keep that cart moving towards the finish line. From a defensive position, gets dropped low, chooses to go even further in. J-Mac gets the pickup, but NX is traded in exchange. But it did create an opening. They had to step up onto the point to try and create enough space. Heaven's Descent from above traps everyone in the doorway. 1, 2, 3, chasing down the strategist to try and make it a FlyQuest 2-0. And that was a beautiful trap out, a shutout, and a